I'm Jim Napoli, and I'm the Senior Leasing Director of Majid Al Futtaim out of Dubai. I have several, actually. The first year, I was, of course, the only American here, and had no idea what exactly to do. But I was instructed by the company I was working for at the time, who was Simon Property Group, to set up a booth and have some presence there. And I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't find anything, didn't know where to find chairs, where to find tables, lamps, anything. So I roamed around it took me hours and hours, and finally a very nice, I ran into a friend of mine, and he helped me through it. And fortunately, we were supposed to open around 9 o'clock, and I think it was about 5 minutes to 9. I finally got everything straightened around. But yeah, it was partially, I think, the fact that I wasn't really aware of exactly how to do all of this. And secondly, I don't think we were quite as prepared at MAPIC as we are today. Today it's very easy to do these things, but so you know, it was a real learning experience. The other thing I have to say is there are some fond memories of the early committee meetings of which I was a part, where we were attempting to get as many retailers and as many developers to become aware of this new show in Cannes. And everyone, of course, kind of knew about MIPIM, but this was something new. So we worked tirelessly, really, to contact as many retailers and as many developers as we could across many of the continents to get them to at least come and try it. And we knew if we could get them here once that they would find it enjoyable. And in most cases, that's what happened. So to see, here we are 19 years later, to see the fruition of all of that hard work by the committee and the great leadership that we had in the early years. Nadine Castagna was here, and now, of course, Natalie DePietro, who's done, they both did a wonderful job, and so a lot of credit goes to Reed Midham. And the first few years, of course, you only found mostly French developers. So today, of course, it's a very international show. You get people literally from all over the world. And that's really what we strived to do in the early years. And of course, the group that has continued to work on that has done an exceedingly good job. So that's the most marked difference that I see. Well, it's tremendously important because it provides a venue for developers and retailers to get together and to discuss a number of different projects that they would otherwise have to arrange travel and make a number of trips to accomplish the same thing. Now, I'm familiar with these shows because, of course, in the U.S. they started many, many years ago. Back in the early 70s, we began doing these shows, and we found that they provided a tremendous opportunity to put together deals and to showcase some of the new projects that the developers were putting together. And so when they did this, I think I knew right from the beginning that it would be successful because I had seen the success of other shows similar to this. In many countries, good retailers expanded to a point of saturation. So they really couldn't grow other than through increased sales in that small area in which they were operating. So this affords an opportunity for them to step out of their comfort zone, so to speak, go into other countries, and where they found that their brand was well known anyhow. And so today, yes, you see the globalization of retail, which is I think is just going to increase as time goes on. I just spent some time in the Far East, and to see the number of U.S. brands and European brands in Hong Kong and Tokyo and Singapore and so many of the other, Shanghai and so many of the other places, it's pretty interesting. You know, that's something that I'm sure 30, 40 years ago no one would ever believe that would have happened. You know. I would say that the biggest change is in shopping centers. Years ago, 40 years ago and more, we really thought that food and beverage was very ancillary, and that entertainment within a center, leisure entertainment kind of venues, were, if we had a space that was available, maybe we can do something with that space. And never really giving thought to the importance of positioning in the center, particularly for the F&B, for the food and beverage. And today, food and beverage and entertainment of many different kinds are extremely important, because developers have a responsibility to build the best mousetrap, so to speak, for the retailers, to give them a comfortable environment in which to shop, to eat, to kind of meet all of their needs all in one stop. And that's been an enormous evolution. And of course, the emphasis on F&B and on entertainment has now led to a lot of the lifestyle open-air centers that you see around the world. And that was something new. So it's very important. I mean, for example, 20-some years ago, when we were leasing Mall of America, which is still the largest mall in the United States, when we told retailers that we were going to have an amusement park in the middle of the mall, they kind of looked at me like I had two heads, you know. They didn't believe that this would ever work. So, but today it's commonplace to find, and of course that's turned out to be one of the most successful malls in the United States. And I think it's happened all over. For example, in the Middle East, the gentleman for whom I work, Mr. Majid Al-Futtaim, his vision was to have the ski dome in the Mall of the Emirates. The Mall of the Emirates is one of the highest producing malls in the world, and on a per square meter basis. And it's been tremendously successful. Now, who would have thought that you can build a ski dome in the middle of the desert? But Mr. Majid thought it would work, and thanks to his vision, he was right. So this has become a great evolution in retail and in planning, in project planning. Well, I think you will see a continuation of the F&B, and I think that they will become more and more sophisticated. And I believe the planning, the project planning, will become more sophisticated in that they will be able to position them properly, provide access, ingress, egress to these kinds of food and beverage venues and leisure and entertainment venues much more easily. They will be integrated better. I think that's one thing. Secondly, I think you're going to find a lot more category killers. So you'll have, I think, large stores that may have, let's just say, for example, all of the luxury children's apparel, for example, in one spot. Or you'll have enormous sporting goods. And of course, you're seeing some of that now, but I think it's going to grow in and more categories. For example, in Dubai Mall, in Dubai, they have a whole section called The Level, which is, I think it's around 90,000 square feet of shoes, of luxury shoes. So these kinds of category killers, I think you'll see a lot more of that. And I think you're going to see a lot more entertainment. I think the goal would be to provide a shopping center that is, again, someplace where the shopper can go and get all of their needs met. Not only just their everyday shopping, you're seeing more and more integration of organic markets and supermarkets in centers. Well, years ago, we just, we had them, and we said, we could certainly get more rent from somebody else. I don't think this is very productive, so we got rid of them. Now we're finding that it attracts a lot of traffic, and in our centers, for example, we have Carrefour, and Majid Al Futtaim owns the Carrefours in the MENA region, and of course we've integrated that into our shopping centers. So you're seeing venues now where people can go and get all of their needs met. They can do their grocery shopping, they can do their normal everyday shopping. We're trying to provide services like, for doctors and dentists and all of these things, because you want to create a convenience for the people in the demographic area. Well, I had the I know if I tried to delineate some of the things, I'll leave some things out and might hurt somebody's feelings. But of course, I was fortunate enough to work on a number of projects, not only, of course, in the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and I had some in Europe that we worked on, and one center in particular was in Madrid, Xanadu. And for those years when we were leasing that, it was, we found this particular show to be so important to us, because we literally were able to fill up that center at that time with tenants that we met here. So I was very emphatic about the company that I was working for at the time to be here. I thought it was important, and it really paid off well for us. So that is important. But I think seeing all of the hard work of getting so many people to become aware of this this show, and to see the fruition of all of that hard work today is extremely heartwarming. So I think that's exciting. And besides, what better venue can you have than coming to Cannes? Cannes' a great city, and it's a great little town, and people are so nice. So it's why not come? It's extremely important. I think, of course, in this technology age, we have a tendency to try to communicate constantly between texts or emails, and I think that if you can get together with somebody, sit and explain something to them, explain your project, or if a retailer can sit and explain exactly what their growth plans are, you can get this dialogue going, and all of your questions can be answered, instead of these streams and streams of emails trying to, I forgot to ask this or I forgot to ask that. So I think it's very important. I think that's how I started in the business. It was all face-to-face, making deals across a table, much like this, and I still think it's the most effective way to do it. I think people know they can understand sincerity, and really can understand your projects much better if you're there to answer all of their questions. So I think these shows, frankly, there should be more and more of them. So I actually believe that MAPIC will continue to grow. I mean, it's extremely well organized, and I think more and more people are finding out about it. And so I understand we're going to kind of set a record here this year for the number of participants, and I think we'll continue to grow.